Ano ai ke aloha ia kākou. Thank you for joining us today. Today, Governor Josh Green will be signing bills that strengthen fireworks laws to increase public safety in response to community concerns. Facilitated questions and answers with the media will follow promptly after remarks conclude. Without further ado, it is my honor to welcome Governor Josh Green.
Aloha, everyone. So, look, I'm just really grateful to the legislature today for giving us very significant legislation to deal with a crisis, and that is the crisis of public safety around fireworks. They stepped up like you can't believe. We're going to go through a couple bills, and then I'm going to leave it to our leaders to describe what happened. So, first off, we have two bills we're gonna sign today: HB 1483 and 550. Let's jump into the first slide. Okay, so what does HB 1483 do? It addresses the crisis that we had on New Year's Eve. So it was a complete tragedy. The explosions that occurred as a result of the fireworks, which took 6 lives and tragically injured more than a dozen additional people, should never have happened. And it's because we as a society haven't done enough to be safe. Not placing blame on anyone, I'm saying we're all responsible together. But because of what continues to go on, which is so much firework activity with enormous fireworks, we're talking about things that I didn't even see as a child in the big cities. We're now facing the need to try to be safer. And so the legislature was just great. This first bill, 1483, establishes and increases criminal penalties for illegal firework offenses related to setting off illegal fireworks near certain locations, sending and receiving illegal fireworks via air cargo, which is totally unsafe, distributing fireworks to non-permitted persons, bringing these huge explosives into our local communities. I mean, this is just too dangerous. Extracting pyrotechnic contents from fireworks, turning them into other kinds of bombs, I mean, that's no. And then finally, purchasing or possessing or igniting fireworks without a permit. I mean, all of this is meant to really take this problem more seriously than ever. The police are going to be able to really charge and then have the prosecutors prosecute cases to the max because of what the legislature did. And these penalties are not going to be small. These are going to be serious felonies now. So if someone puts other people in harm's way or hurts them through an explosion, they're going to be in jail for a very, very long time. So please don't do it. Everyone rely on public firework events. That's the way to go. We have to once and for all stop this for the safety of our children and the people we love. So that's the first bill. A little bit more on the next slide. It clarifies some of the terms because it was difficult to prosecute fireworks violations. The felony charges, if you hurt someone, as an ER doc, I saw one kid blow off part of his face, and it was because people put fireworks down in unexploded ordnance, and the ordnance unfortunately had a bomb inside of it, and it blew up. It took this beautiful boy, took part of his face off, and then we, of course, saw what happened on New Year's Eve, which actually was devastating beyond belief. So if a firework goes off and you have it illegally and you blow somebody up, honestly, you're going to go to jail for 20 years. And no joke. So don't do it. You're doing that to your family too. The ones you love, they will never see you again. So that's really what's behind this. It amends all the penalties based on weight. So if you have these huge stacks, like people were doing these cake pyrotechnics, cake fireworks, as big as this desk, again, going to jail. And so please don't do that. Go to the public fireworks shows. Ask us to host more public fireworks shows, but let's help our neighbors. So that's the first bill. And now let's go over to HB 550. It permits us to use drones to establish probable cause. In other words, all those great videos that we saw on YouTube showing the incredible fireworks everywhere? Those YouTubes are now going to be evidence to bust people for blowing up their neighbors, okay? So please don't blow up your neighbors. Please watch these programs, on TV or go to a great show. But please be safe, because I know that my healthcare colleagues, every holiday, we wait till midnight comes, and then 2 people blew off their fingers. One firework hit someone in the face. Someone else, dies as a result of the explosion. It's too much, just too much for our beautiful state and our people. So these are going to really reduce harm. These bills, the legislature took this utterly seriously, and I'll tell you this is part 2. Part 1 was being able to have fines for people who are just breaking the law and having the big arrows. So, $300, $300. That money's going to be put to good use, and we're going to use that for additional prevention and support of law enforcement who work so hard, okay? And then part 2, if you hurt somebody or you go way too far or you're trafficking this stuff, it's jail time. So it's all meant to demonstrate that we actually love our neighbors. So that's where I'm coming from. And then I have, again, profound thanks to our legislative leaders, our prosecutors. They're going to come from both the Senate and the House and kind of lay it down on why these bills matter so much. Thank you, guys.
Mahalo, Governor. Next, I'd like to introduce Senator Brandon Elefante, Chair of the Senate Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs.
Today's bill signing marks a pivotal moment for the safety of our communities. At the beginning of the legislative session, we as legislators heard the concerns of our constituents for a call to action to improve our current fireworks law with more enforcement, stricter penalties, and addressing safety concerns of our communities. First, thank you to Governor Green and your team, your policy team, Will and Dan, and your staff for the dedicated hard work and tireless effort to get us here today. Many thanks to AG Ann Lopez and AG's team of Tricia, Mark, Dave, and First Deputy Matt Devanch, and especially the Criminal Justice and Legislative Division, to the Department of Law Enforcement, Director Lambert and your team, and as well as the Hawaii State Fireworks Council, Chief Todd and Chief Lum, our community members. I also see Chair Verre here from Pearl City, along with local law enforcement, Interim Chief Vanek and HPD, and from the different county islands, our federal, state, and local partners. We could not do this without their support and assistance. And lastly, special thanks to the lead sponsors of today's fireworks legislation, Representative Scott Matayoshi, who sponsored 2 of the bills being signed, Rep. Chun, members of the Senate Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs, thank you to my colleagues for being here today, and members of the Senate and House who supported these measures. Your leadership and unwavering support to advance these important measures are crucial to our state's public safety in dealing with the use of illegal fireworks. House Bill 1483, introduced by Rep. Matayoshi, creates new crimes and punishments for misusing fireworks, especially if someone gets seriously hurt or killed. It also makes fireworks-related violations a part of the same system used to handle traffic tickets or similar offenses. And I want to personally thank our chair of our Senate Committee on Judiciary for having that idea to change that in that section. So thank you, Senator Rhodes. House Bill 806 would allow for sting operation, also introduced by Representative Matayoshi. House Bill 550 would allow the use of drone recordings, as Governor mentioned. Thank you to Rep. Chun for introducing that. And lastly, a critical piece of fireworks reform, which is a bill that I introduced, Senate Bill 222, which is a measure that extends the Illegal Fireworks Task Force under the Department of Law Enforcement so that they and their partners can continue on with enforcement. When the community and our constituents give us a call to action, we responded and delivered by passing these bills to deter the use of illegal fireworks. All these measures will only strengthen our agency's efforts to prevent and address the use of illegal fireworks. Thank you, Governor Green, for signing these measures, especially ahead of our 4th of July weekend. Mahalo.
He's such a gentleman, and I'm gonna give a little bit of a calamai here. Apparently, I called him Brenton. I'm not sure why. I clearly know his name is Brandon, and he is my senator. So just for clarification, it happens. It is what it is, but I'm owning it. Mahalo, Senator Brandon Elefante. Now, please welcome Representative Scott Matayoshi, Chair of the House Committee on Consumer Protection and Commerce.
Good afternoon, everyone. A lot of what I wrote in this speech was already said, so I'm going to skip a lot of it. It might be a little bit shorter than normal. But this legislation is really about protecting lives, preserving our neighborhoods, and curbing reckless behavior. For years, illegal fireworks have been a literal bomb set to go off in our community, and unfortunately on New Year's Eve, last New Year's Eve, that bomb went off. Like Governor Green said, it killed 6 people, injured 20. One of the people killed was a 3-year-old boy. And when I heard that, it broke my heart. You know, I've got 2 sons, one of whom is 3, and I saw my own son there in that news story. And that very second is when I started getting to work on these bills. Any parent knows that when you see that their kid could be next, and honestly, that's absolutely terrifying. You don't know, after that incident happened, we didn't know if our neighbor had a bomb in their house that was about to go off to threaten our families, our kids sleeping in their beds. It was a really scary time, and I'm glad that the legislature came together with the help of and support of Governor Green and the Attorney General's office to craft a bill, to craft legislation, to proactively take a stand on this. In the age of wildfires that we're in right now, every time you see a firework shot in the air, you should be thinking about Lahaina. What we're doing is we're shooting burning bombs into the air to come down in our communities, among our homes, in the brush. That could lead to devastating consequences, and we needed to take a stand on that, and I'm really proud of us for doing so. I want to say law enforcement has been with us every step of the way, but it's been incredibly difficult for them to enforce the laws when the laws are very convoluted, very strict. We had neighbors unwilling to testify against other neighbors, and I can understand why. But what this bill really does is it allows them to write citations at a traffic level violation where you don't need that neighbor to come and testify, where they can just hand in a ticket, $300, to deter people from buying and selling and using these illegal fireworks. And that's really the point here. There's this bill, there's 1483, there's my other bill to fund sting operations. What we're trying to do here is to deter the use. We're trying to put actual consequences to actions. We want to make an actual consequence for violating a law. And what I want is for fireworks to be so difficult to sell. We don't sell a lot of fur coats here in Hawaii. There's just no market for it. What I want is for fireworks to be a fur coat. I want it to be harder to sell a fur coat on the beach in Waikiki than it is to sell an illegal firework here in Hawaii, because so many people are afraid of the consequences of using and buying them and afraid of the harm it's going to cause to both themselves and their families. So again, thank you to everyone who helped to draft this legislation. I think it's a proactive approach from government, and I'm really proud of us for taking it. Thank you.
Mahalo, Rep. Matayoshi. Up next, please welcome Mike Lambert, Director of the Department of Law Enforcement.
All right, good afternoon. So I just want to say thank you to the governor, our elected officials, my law enforcement colleagues in the room, and last but not least, the community that supported this legislation. Today's signing represents a change in the way that we view, prioritize, and enforce individuals that recklessly place our communities at risk, right? No longer will we look at it as a benign activity or family fun. This past New Year's Eve showed us just what even moderate amounts of fireworks in the community can do. And there's not enough sorries or apologies that can reverse the burns or the loss of life that occurred this past year. Sadly, this tragedy alone has not changed all of the community, as you continue to see and hear fireworks, particularly aerials, go off in our neighborhoods. We want to be able to make sure that as we move forward, we're looking at these organizations that profit from basically making it unsafe for us and essentially turning our safety into money, right? And we need to take that away from them. To set expectations moving into the 4th of July season, You may still see the same amount of fireworks, but the difference is that you're going to see much more enforcement in the aftermath as we report. That's going to be the goal for 4th of July, is for us to utilize the new drone technology, apply the new laws, and get it fine-tuned for our New Year's season, which we know gets pretty wild. Citations are very important because what it does is it shows the people that the law enforcement community takes it serious. In other words, it's not something that we just drive by anymore. In the past, we've had to because they're just so complicated, but now the laws are streamlined. Thank you to the AG's office for making it more, more easier for us to apply. But really, the game changer is going to be when we attack the distributors of these of fireworks. All of our fireworks investigations will result in a money laundering investigation attached to it. So if you can't explain how you make your living, well, you're going to have your opportunity to show us, right? So it's one of those things too, right? As we work out there, this is your guys' last warning. The guys that are bringing it in, right? I don't cry and moan and say, "Oh, you're just trying to make a living here in Hawaii," because you're doing it at the expense of our communities. So I'm telling you guys right now that I already have a list of names. And if you guys want to continue doing what you're doing, you're going to find out if you're on it or not. And as I begin to eradicate these organizations, guess what? New ones will spring up. I'm well aware of it. But with these new laws, we feel that we can go ahead and close those down in a short period of time. In closing, I just want to thank the governor and our legislators for trusting me to work with our law enforcement partners in the room so that we can improve the safety of communities across the state. Thank you.
Mahalo, Director Lambert. At this time, I'd like to call the governor up to the podium for our facilitated questions with media, and I'm going to start with the ever-lovely Kristen Concilio, KITV4.
Thanks, Makana. Hi, Gov. So my question is, unfortunately, I covered the Aliyah Manu tragedy at the beginning of the year and spoke with neighbors who witnessed it firsthand. And I asked the question, does this, they saw people burned on the ground, and I said, is this going to change your mindset? And they said, no, it's not fireworks' fault. And, and you have just so many people who feel the same way. It's a tradition we're going to continue. How do you crack down on that or change the mindsets of a whole entire island?
Sure. It's a very good question. So the initial phase is people don't like to get tickets, and there are going to be a whole lot of $300 tickets going out. That's a reality. But some of the individuals that, Chief Lambert was talking about, that they are essentially trafficking in bombs, and they're going to go to jail for long periods of time. And individuals who make a bad decision and, have very big shows that result in harm, they're also tragically going to go to jail. And it will be right after they've hurt someone. So now it's just serious, and that's how a lot of the law works. I mean, it takes a little bit of time. People have to have the experience. The reason we're being so direct and stern right now is we're giving everyone a chance just not to do it. If I may, if you have fireworks that you had planned for July 4th, the team, DLE team, and Lambert's been doing a great job. They'll be happy to collect them. We'll have another series of events where people can donate them or turn them in. Just turn them in. You know what? Don't run the risk of being the first person prosecuted with a Class B or Class A felony for blowing up some child. You don't want to be the person that goes to jail for 20 years. And that will ultimately change things. We're not trying to take the fun out of life at all. I love fireworks. We all love fireworks, but when they're done safely, that is the key here.
Next, we're going to go to our On the Mend Blaze Levels Civil Beat.
Thanks. This is for Governor or Director Lambert. The legislature chose not to create this new explosives enforcement unit or provide it with any funding. This would have had, dedicated investigators to work on these fireworks cases full time. Will that impact law enforcement's ability to enforce some of these heightened penalties?
I think this will be good for you, Chief.
So actually, it was funded through the regular governor's funding. So we will have 6 investigators full-time assigned. We're going to onboard them. We've actually already recruited people that specialize in organized crime investigations and covert operations. So we're actually able to recruit some high-level people to get us started.
Okay, next I'm going to go to my lifesaver, Jill Kuramoto, KHON2.
Thanks, Makana. What conversations has your administration had with federal authorities like the ATF or Homeland Security about intercepting illegal shipments to Hawaii?
This is another question. Yeah, there's and what Chief alluded to also is there are multiple levels of penalties. Some of these are going to be federal. Some of these are going to be related to income tax evasion when people are having a $3 or $4 million house, but they don't have a job except for selling illegal fireworks. I mean, there's going to be a lot of real focus on these enterprises, but Chief can tell you how we're going with the feds.
So we've already reached out. Because I didn't tell them I'd bring their names up today, I won't say them by specific agency, but what I can tell you is that we have large support from the federal agencies to help us support this. And particularly in the areas of tax evasion, they are willing to, if we can show a certain amount of product, take that on and utilize IRS pathways and other type of tax pathways to figure out, again, how they make their money and go ahead and dismantle that operation utilizing money laundering laws.
There will be federal partnerships to enforce these laws as needed.
Mahalo. Our next question, the vivacious Dylan Ancheta, Hawaii News Now.
Vivacious, you're too kind. Thank you. Governor, earlier in one of your slides, you mentioned increasing the penalties for bringing in air cargo, but I'd like to focus on the ports. What's being done to inspect shipments and track people who touch those shipments and get it through the community?
Sure. Yeah, again, Chief's going to come. We've reached out to those who manage our ports and told them that the time is now to be on the alert. As everyone knows, there's a lot of different ways to get things into Hawaii, but flying explosives through the air is unbelievable. That's why the focus was on that part of the illegal import into our state. But the same really can be also applied to ships. As we know, we get a lot of containers. People have been trying to hide fireworks in containers, but we'll be tracking what's sold and what's seized back to those who have shipped.
So fortunately, when I inherited the Department of Law Enforcement, there was a large amount of tech money that it was infused with on its onset. So a lot of that money has been put into AI and other analytics. I don't want to go too specific into it, but we will be able to track port shipments and we will investigate irregularities. Some of the future things we may have to look at is if you travel to other places like Dubai and whatnot, they actually have X-ray machines that can actually scan a whole trailer. So it's the things that we'll probably have to look at in the future. I know we're looking at some budget changes and other things that affect what we can ask for, but it's something that I'm going to be trying to fight for so that we can lock down the ports.
Okay, this next question comes from Andrew Gomes. Will law enforcement be ready on July 4th to enforce the new laws enacted from the first two bills? And will there be any special or heightened effort for enforcement that day?
Yeah, so, in respect to Chief Vanek, I won't go into too much details, but we're already heavy coordination, and it does include the utilization of drones. So Honolulu Police Department has always been a great partner to us, and we look forward to trial and error. There's going to be some growing pains as we apply it. And again, the biggest thing we want to do is be ready for New Year's Eve. Kauai Chief flew in. We appreciate that. So once we kind of get the procedures and evidence collection, then we will work with our neighbor island chiefs to make sure that there's consistent enforcement throughout the state.
Don't try to shoot the chief's drones down with fireworks because you're going to get a double penalty if you do that.
That's a federal violation.
Yes.
For clarification, that's a federal violation. We're going to continue. We have several more questions from media, and we're going to go back to Kristen with KITV4.
So, sometimes when you enact stricter laws, but the judiciary are you working with them to, be tougher too? Because they, a lot of times, do the opposite.
Yeah, the question, has come up, if you enhance penalties, suddenly there's a challenge because a lot more cases could be tried. But, we just 2 days ago, I think, signed a $450 $400+ million budget for the judiciary for this next biennium. And it was a very good collegial session between the ledge, the judiciary, and the executive branch. So extra resources are going in. Some extra courts have been funded. And, the way this really works in society is a lot of discussions go on for many years, and a bill comes, and then sometimes a catastrophic event occurs, and it wakes up a dad to the fears that could happen to his or her 3-year-old. And that's what happened here. So this was just a one session, all hands on deck situation. And so you'll see a lot of extra prosecution, I believe, as a result of this July 4th. But by New Year's, expect a super robust approach. Essentially, people have a moment to pause and think about whether or not they're going to take a risk with these new laws. Please don't do it. And then come New Year's, man, we're going to be all over it. So I hope people don't think that they can just flood the zone, because we will, over time, make sure we get all the individuals that are being the most guilty of importing large amounts of fireworks.
Up next, we're going back to Blaze with Civil Beat.
Thanks, Director Lambert. Just a follow-up question on the drones. Could you talk a little bit more about how they would be used? My understanding is your department's already acquired a few drones. How many are you talking about? Just generally, what areas would they be in?
So right now, in regards to where we're going to set up, we're not going to go ahead and disclose that. But we do have in our possession 10 drones now. We do intend to order more. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to utilize those drones to provide us an aerial advantage, but it would still be traditional enforcement boots on the ground that would go and issue that citation. It's a huge game changer for us, predominantly, especially in our residential neighborhoods where the roads are narrow. They can see us coming a mile away. They know even undercover cars that don't belong on the street, they'll stop popping. But the drones actually give us a huge advantage in trying to catch people that are lighting it up. And if you're lighting it up and we see more stuff within your car or garage, then expect to get blasted with the felony.
Up next, we're going back to Jill, KHON2.
Thank you very much. You're about to sign 2 bills into law, but I know that there are many more that were introduced. How effective do you think this is going to be in actually addressing the crisis, and to those who might say this is more symbolic than substantive?
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. So depending on how many citations and then convictions we can make over the coming years, people will see how effective it is. We have historically had just a shortage of law enforcement officials because there's been so much need. So a big part of this, there's other things that are happening. For example, I quietly signed a bill this morning allowing for the sting operations, and that's going to happen. We're going to raise the salaries of police officers. We're going to agree to some of the negotiations coming up because we want to recruit more police into our community. So there's a lot of things all happening at once. The most dynamic reasons we have a bill signing is so people just have a real clear awareness. I don't want anyone to be surprised when there's a felony charge against them. So please, everyone, the last thing we want to do is to have to file felony charges against someone who seemingly was unaware that you cannot be importing large amounts of explosives or fireworks, or that when an accidental injury occurs, because no one's trying to hurt others in their community, but when that family gets hurt that's next door or just walking by for the show, if they get seriously injured, there's going to be major charges, and there's going to be pretty straightforward convictions, if I would guess. So, yes, the judiciary is ready to sentence on these cases, and yes, law enforcement is ready to amp their system. The DLE, Department of Law Enforcement, is now just maturing. We've only started it a year and a half ago. Yeah. And so now they're finding their mission. They've been doing things like gun buybacks. They are increasingly going to be doing more patrols. Now they're going to have this mission for public safety. So as they get their footing, we have a whole additional supportive team to, HPD and Maui PD and so on. So this is serious. It's one of those things, I see this has been very dangerous. And if I may, also give a little plug. We've had too many fatalities on the roads this year. We've seen an outlier year where we've lost about twice as many loved ones based on normal. So everyone, please slow down about 5 miles an hour. There will be less accidents. Everyone really make sure during the holidays you're not drinking and driving. Please be careful. This is the graduation party season. I'm too aware of that with a daughter who just graduated. Please be very careful on the roads because these are things we can prevent. This is within our control, which is probably the best pieces of legislation that we can pass, things that we can control and that are just sensible. And that's what the legislature delivered.
Final two questions. We're going to hear from Emma, Hawaii Public Radio.
Hi there. So in their 2024 report, the Illegal Fireworks Task Force had talked about how expensive the disposal process is. So what is the plan for disposal and where are the funds for this coming from?
Sure. Chief will come.
I think her question was, why is it so expensive in regards to destruction of fireworks, and what are we going to do to kind of combat that? So first off, we're looking at holding public shows. So the ones that are still safe to let off, we're going to find a contractor. We'll go ahead and let the community enjoy those. The ones that are not really meant or charged, I guess is the word, they're tampered with, those we have to destroy locally. And the biggest thing is that the only vendor that will do it in large scale is on the continent, and they do it for $1 million per container. So we're going to be looking at, working with our legislators to say that's not fair that somebody imports it in, and then the bill, when they fail and we catch it, the bill goes to the community. So that bill should go to the importer, stuff that we'd have to talk about and craft. But in the meantime, we have what we have, and we are looking for very, I guess, interesting ways of safely disposing of them.
There could very well be a secondary industry that pops up, which is, some security, certainly the drone industry, and then finally, yes, disposal. So it's fascinating how these things develop, but that would be a very positive development if we had enough fireworks that we seized that could go, like Chief said, I've encouraged him to set a standard by having a lot more big shows publicly. Well, we probably are going to have a pretty good stockpile of fireworks in the coming years. So donate your fireworks, avoid prison time, and he will put on a good show.
Mahalo for your great question, Emma. And we are going to end with Dylan, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you so much. Governor, in the last few years, it seems like this problem has only increased. But I want to look at the bigger picture and, it seems that when the consumer ban on fireworks, we're talking fountains, sparklers, that was enacted for Honolulu, that, the people who said, we're going to celebrate anyway, it pushed them to the black market. Meanwhile, we still have other counties that allow such fountains and sparklers. One, do you think that played a role into increasing these illegal fireworks? And two, do you think it's time to maybe reopen the discussion for the city and county to say, let's look at reallowing consumer grade so people don't feel like the black market is all they have?
Sure. In general, I'll defer to the mayor, who I have incredible respect for, Mayor Blangiardi, all the mayors, of course. The counties have a place to obviously make local recommendations and local laws. This became a statewide problem because the sheer scope of the damage and the potential for mass casualties and as was mentioned quite eloquently, the potential for wildfires. The wildfire, though, was not caused by a firework, cost $13 billion. That could have easily been the result, though, however, of a firework in July, which is the beginning of the peak fire season. I'm not worried about sparklers too much or fountains or, small injuries we can deal with. But this was a game changer, and please don't underestimate the impact of wildfire season and our vulnerability as to why we passed these bills. I mean, that was a big part of it. We are very vulnerable given the impacts of global warming and the drying of our environment. It's only a matter of time till we have another large fire. We just have to do all that we can to prevent it from being around any of our communities. Those wildfires are difficult to contain on 4th of July because they're everywhere. Small fires break out, and we would not be able to stop them if they occurred in Maui and a neighbor island community where they already have limited law enforcement capacity. So, again, everyone just please be a little careful. In fact, be a lot careful. Turn in any illegal fireworks that you've got over to the Department of Law Enforcement. We'll put that up on our website of how you can go about doing that. You have plenty of time. Don't shoot them off on July 4th. And if you do, be prepared to get either a $300 citation or, if God forbid you hurt anyone, a felony charge from the prosecutors or the Attorney General.
Kalamai, we just got a question come in from Colleen with Hawaii Journalism Initiative. And just in case, I think this would be for you, Director Lambert, regarding the drones. Will any of those 10 be used on Maui? How is the Department of Law Enforcement working with Maui Police to enforce these new laws?
So the pilot launch will be with Honolulu. I do understand that Maui has drones, and in fact, we will be working with our partners to make sure that they have that capability moving forward. So if any county, for whatever reason, doesn't have the funding for it, we'd go ahead and partner with them to make sure that they do have what they need for 4th of July or the upcoming New Year's Eve.
And I guess just in summary, we just held an event talking about the climate impact fee, right? And it's going to be $100 million. It's going to be very flexible. It's going to be meant to produce grants to protect us against wildfires, but also, in general, public safety as connected to climate change. The sky's the limit for what we can use these resources for if people have good ideas that will protect us against significant wildfires, changes that have occurred as a result of invasive grasses and so on. Doesn't sound like there's a nexus up front, but fire was a big part of this. It was huge in our minds, both the lives of the individuals we lost and the fires that are very possibly going to be started. So again, thank you everyone for understanding, and expect, like I say, more and more opportunities to have beautiful public events where we have public firework celebrations, whether it's 4th of July, New Year's, you name it. We'd be willing to have beautiful fireworks displays, provided that people really, kind of chill on illegal fireworks. So thank you for understanding. This was great work by the legislature, and particular thanks to each branch of government for stepping in and saying it's got to stop. Thanks.
Mahalo, Governor. At this time, I'd like to invite our state legislators, any key stakeholders, to come to the half moon for the formal bill signing and subsequent picture taking.
Roddy, come. We're on this side.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. First, HB 1483 relating to fireworks, and this was obviously one of our two signature bills to prevent loss of life. Thank you, guys. Okay, and not to be outdone, HB 550. Again, this is providing law enforcement quite a lot of additional tools to enforce the laws that are necessary to keep our people safe.
Okay,
Thank
wait.
you, guys.
Ceremonially touch it, and maybe one for Mike.
This is, you want me to,
There you go.
I'll put an exclamation point there. Okay.
Okay. Could we get help grabbing both bills, and then we can look this way, and the photographers will call it out.
To the very, sorry, I'm going to have everyone go right. Wait, from central, I think. Is it done?
Yep.
Got it?
Olelo Kinkai.